Champion Fulton, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you, Sean?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. So I so we're Facebook friends.
Yeah.
And
Instagram friends, maybe too.
Yeah, Instagram friends. That might have happened later. But I started, these days, often is the case that you discover people on social media,
Yeah.
which I suppose has a nice way of maybe making the earth like a flat earth or something, right? Everyone has access to everyone else. But on the other hand, I'd rather be out seeing live music, playing gigs and stuff like that, and be seen and discover folks that way. But it seems social media is the way that happens often these days. And I was watching, I've been checking out a lot of your performances, and one thing that you are, you're super knowledgeable.
Oh, thank you.
And it's not usually the case that someone that is as talented as you are, singing and playing the instrument, is as well spoken and as knowledgeable as you are. Where does that come from? And has that been something that you sort of did you develop that for performance, or was that sort of a byproduct of maybe upbringing and just being exposed to the music?
Well, I really love jazz. I've loved it ever since I was a little girl. And I grew up around my father's friends, like Clark Terry. They were very good friends. And I loved, checking out the records and reading the liner notes and reading who's on the bands and, learning about it that way. And then I love to read in general. I'm a big reader. And I discovered there's so many great jazz books that are, informative and fun. And I have tons of biographies and essays and like Milt Hinton's, photo collection. And so I always wanted to learn the history of the music and learn about the people who made the music, definitely from like a very early age.
All right. And so let's see here. So when did you start doing these sort of streaming kind of concerts? It seems like you're in your house.
Yeah.
Okay. When did you start doing that?
Well, so I have this show called Live from Lockdown. It's every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and Facebook. And that started because of the pandemic, because of the lockdowns. And before that, I was touring a lot, performing in person all around the world. And when everything got canceled, I was like really bummed out. And I thought this was a way to still do something and connect with people and still have something to like work on and stay focused. And I started these Sunday shows 55 weeks ago. I know that because a few weeks ago, we just had our 1-year anniversary. And I think this coming Sunday is week 55. And it just kind of just grew out of that.
Yeah. I mean, you have a good following, and you put on a good show.
Thank you.
So you frequently have guests on your show. So can you maybe talk about some of the guests that you've had, maybe recent shows, and then maybe how you connected with them and why you invited them on the show?
Well, the first shows started out just with me, and I would do like themes. One of the first shows was a Billie Holiday theme, actually, because today, early April is her birthday, and that's kind of right after the lockdowns began. So I did Billie Holiday theme. And then after doing that for maybe a month or a few months, it's a lot of work. And I thought, it'd be nice to have someone else on the show to talk to and play with and sort of have a little bit of a foil. And I'm lucky that my father, Stephen Fulton, plays trumpet and flugelhorn. So he was able to start coming on the show. And my partner, Nick Himpton, plays saxophone. So he was doing some of the shows. And then only recently this year, now that people are a little bit more comfortable being around each other, have I been able to get some other musicians to come on the show. So 2 weeks ago, I had the great drummer Fukushi Tainaka on, who is my drummer for many years. And this coming Sunday, April 11th, I will have bassist Hide Tanaka, who's also been my bassist for many years. And I'm reaching out to some other people, but I think still some people are a little bit uncomfortable coming in to someone's house. But I love having the guests on because, I mean, obviously it's more fun to play with other people than just yourself.
Yeah.
And especially if it's someone who likes to talk and you can have a conversation with, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, someone else is doing a concert series, it seems like, from his house, is Emmett Cohen.
Yeah, he does Mondays.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see folks sort of change the way that they're delivering, the the music. That's not the way I wanted to say that. What is it? Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Making adjustments based on the circumstances. Not just, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to take an L. Well, it's like, okay, well, this is the new normal. Okay, what are some things that I can do? It's good to see a lot of folks doing that.
No, I really love my show because I love, it's very casual, and I still do themes. We do quite a few themes because I found that my audience seemed to really respond to learning a little bit more about the music, both about other musicians maybe they don't know about, or history they don't know about. And in fact, a couple weeks ago, I did an entire show on block chords.
I saw the show.
Yeah, and I thought maybe this is going to be boring, for everyone. Like maybe it's a little technical, but I think people really responded to it. They liked it, and they were messaging me like, "Oh, I heard this Oscar Peterson track, and I think that was block chords." Kind of cool.
Yeah, the something I started to realize so I'm an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
But I teach, right? I teach and I perform. And
are you at Ohio State?
Yes, ma'am.
So we are a little bit like mortal enemies because I'm from Norman, Oklahoma, and I'm a big Sooner, and I was just wondering, like, if you're at Ohio State, that's okay. No.
That's right. You won't hold it against me.
No.
What was I saying?
Well, you're an introvert.
Yeah. I'm an introvert, and so introverted doesn't mean that you don't like to talk or that you don't like interacting with people. Introverted just means you don't want to compete for people's attention. Like that's in my case. So for instance, if I was to go to like go to an event and I didn't know anybody and I wasn't there to do a particular job, but I had to like go and mingle. That's a word that I don't like, by the way. Yeah. I would totally, okay, an hour of that would require several days of sleep, probably. It's very taxing. However, if you get me talking about stuff that I'm into, then I can talk for a long time. And one thing I started to realize is in my performances was that, when I was younger, I didn't talk much. I just got on stage. I just played, I introduced the band, say something about the song and then play. And in my, last few years, especially, I do more talking. And I started to notice, even on the things that my live streaming concerts and things, I actually get it's just a few more, but the live viewers actually spike when I'm talking.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for watching my video so far. If you'd like to support, there are several ways to do so below. Also, likes are free. Please comment, share, and subscribe. Now back to the video.
And that made me think of something. And I don't think it's because they don't like the music. I just think that the connection in like actually trying to bring them in to what it is that I'm thinking about helps them to enjoy the show.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. And I think, I mean, like in a live performance, I wouldn't talk as much as I do on my streaming show on Live from Lockdown. And I don't think I, normally wouldn't give like history or like teaching, but especially in the virtual world, like with these online concerts, I think people so miss a human connection. And I mean, because you can just put on a record and you can listen to music, or you can watch a YouTube video and you can hear music and see music being played, but to like have someone talk to you, I think is sort of what people really miss. So I feel like I talk more in that show than I would like on stage. And it's funny, you say the numbers go up when you're talking. For me, the numbers go up during the piano solos. And then when I sing, I feel like people are like, oh, she's singing. I don't want that.
Oh,
Something about the piano, I think people like that.
Well, you're great at both, so they don't. If that's true, then they don't know what they're doing. But I don't think it's true. So, okay. So why don't you talk about Little Champion? Getting started with music and I don't know, maybe some things about what was happening around the house that encouraged that, maybe some early mentors and teachers and experiences with music, maybe culminating in sort of that moment or series of moments or period of time where you knew that this was going to be what you wanted to do with your life.
Well, I think I was so lucky because my father, Stephen Fulton, plays trumpet and flugelhorn, and he had a band. I grew up very beginning of my life in Oklahoma, and we moved around quite a bit. But I was in Oklahoma when we started, and it was just we were always going to his gigs, and it was definitely a family affair. Loading all the equipment and going to the gig and doing the sound check and setting up. I was there for everything, and I would go to his rehearsals. He had a Monday night rehearsal band, big band. But then at home, it was all music all the time, and he was practicing and having rehearsals. And it was like the guys were always having so much fun. They'd come over and they were laughing and hanging out. And I was like, I want to do that. And I feel like from the age 3 or 4, I just wanted to be a jazz musician. I just wanted to do that, like what my dad was doing. And I started off playing piano, which I still do. But I also played drums and I played bass, and I took trumpet lessons from him, and I played trumpet all through high school. And I just loved it. I can't say I always loved practicing because I feel like as a 8-year-old child, I really didn't want to practice. But I liked performing. And then I started going to jazz camp when I was like 9. And then I formed a band in Oklahoma when I was like 14. And I just wanted to be involved in the music. And his friends were so encouraging. Like I mentioned, one of his best friends was Clark Terry. And they were really close. And so I became close to Clark because he would come over to the house. They would talk on the phone. My dad would send him mail. And it was always like, oh, write Clark a note. I would draw him a picture or whatever. And Clark would send stuff to me. He sent me Louis Armstrong Disney songbook CD. And I didn't really know that Clark was super famous, but we would go to the record store or the CD store, and I would look through things. Like my father was looking for records, and I would look too, and I would pull up a record and I'd go, oh, like Clark is on this record with Dinah Washington and Wynn Kelly, like we should get it, and I don't know, I didn't really realize how significant that was, I guess. But I was so into the music, and I think my father could tell, and I think Clark could tell. And so Clark treated me seriously even from a young age. You know, he was like, okay, are you serious? Because I'm going to really critique you. You know, I'm going to give you real lessons. And they were not always super easy. But I was just totally obsessed from the beginning.
Yeah. The practicing thing is an interesting thing. These days, there's a lot of advice that people give that I think is really bad advice.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the advice is that if you don't like every second of what you're doing, then that's a sign that you're not doing the right thing. You know, this sort of, you know, if when you're doing something, you don't instantaneously feel fulfilled and, you know, butterflies in the stomach and, you know, just euphoric. And if you don't have that feeling, then that must mean that something is wrong, you know? And I appreciate you saying that. I've had let's put it this way. I love to practice, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. No, I can relate, because I think I just, you know, when I was little, I wanted to go outside, you know, and ride bikes with my friends. I mean, do the kid things. And then as I got older, I was just frustrated by the practice because, like, I just want to be able to do it, you know, like, why can't I just do it? Why does it take so much time? And progress can be very slow. And I kept doing it. I didn't have a lot of choice. I mean, Clark and my father made sure, you know, I was going to practice. But then, you know, I got older and then I loved it. But I also think, you know, it's sort of like being a musician and having a relationship with your music and your instrument is a little bit like, you know, a marriage, or like a personal relationship. And there can be times where you're not super thrilled with all aspects of it, and other times where you are. And they just come and go. And it's really just the continuing to do it and the dedication to doing it. That's what matters. Not so much how it always makes one feel.
At least in that case, if you separate, it's amicable, you know.
Or not. I don't know. I think if I played piano, it would be like, you know, War of the Roses.
Well, at least only one of you will fight.
Sometimes I wonder. I always think about that Dizzy Gillespie quote where he says, you know, that you wake up and you're at battle with the trumpet, and some days the trumpet wins, and then the next day you win, and it goes back and forth, and then you die and the trumpet wins.
That's right.
It's kind of dark, but I relate to that.
Yeah. So my dad was my teacher all the way until I went to college. He's a great saxophone player. And so I started when I was really young. And those days I wanted to play a lot. But the thing is, my dad didn't talk about it like it was practicing. He said, he would say, go get your horn and let's play.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. You know, and I think part of it, just kind of dealing with the psychology of a kid. I was 6 when I started, and, you know, kids want to go play, kids want to, you know, so he kind of tried to take advantage of that. And honestly, I don't remember, and it seems like you don't either. I don't remember that there ever was a moment where I like actually chose music. Right. It seems like it was always there. And I use this illustration sometimes. It's like, you know, you become aware and you're out in the middle of the lake. And then it's like, well, I could go back, or I could just go across. I'm closer to that side at this point, you know? So now this is going to seem like an abstract question, and it is pretty abstract, and you can, go wherever you want to go with it. But what has music meant to you?
That's a deep question. I mean, my music is my whole life, and I feel like my whole life has centered around doing it, around playing it, and being involved in it, performing, traveling, and I feel like, I mean, I love it, and I feel this year, especially, these past 13, 14 months have been so strange. And I feel that this year my music has really sort of like loved me in return, if I can say. That's kind of also an abstract thing to say, but because I feel like it's really kept me going. Just my love of the instrument, just sitting at the piano and playing, but then also it's given me a way to sort of still engage with people through my show, and to still have like a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning for my own life. And I really think it is my whole life.
Now, so it seems to me that it takes a special person to understand, in a relationship context, someone that is that sort of focused on a particular thing.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us musicians, that's the game. Look, there's a lot of really, really talented folks out here. So even if you're one of them, you have to be really dedicated and serious about what it is that you're doing, or you don't have a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a certain kind of like laser-like, focus, and a kind of endurance, and just unrelenting. And I tell my students frequently, and this is only if you're successful, right? So if you're successful as a musician, when everyone else is on, the 9-to-5 folks, you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And when everyone else is off, you're on.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
When people are on vacation, you're on.
Mm-hmm.
When it's holidays and they're with their family, you're on. Mm-hmm. It's Valentine's Day, you're on. And that's just what it is, and it's unrelenting, and and you have to say yes when opportunities arise. That's the job. Mm-hmm. But it has to be like really difficult on. Well, I know it's been challenging on my own relationships.
Mm.
I mean, I'm not trying to pry for information or anything.
No, it's okay.
I don't need any. Share whatever you would like to share.
No, it's a very good point, and I think it's something a lot of maybe people that aren't involved in the music don't think about. But yeah, it's a full-time job. Especially, I think the way I treat it, I love to do it, and I love to get up and do emails and write back to people and plan tours and then go on gigs and then do the meet and greets and then do the performance and then rehearse. I love my band. I love hanging out with my band. I love all those things.
And then when you had a night off, agree to do a podcast.
Yeah, or like make videos for people. One of my best girlfriend just had a baby, and so I'm like making all these little videos singing to the baby. And I love to give music to people, and it is really demanding. But I also really love my family, and I love like home life and cooking and eating at home. And I was just in Oklahoma visiting my parents. We went fishing, and I love that too. And I'm really lucky. I have a boyfriend. His name is Nick, and we've been together almost 12 years. I had to think about that. And he's super supportive, and it works, for us.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a while to figure that out.
Mm.
I mean, it's just, folks talk about this sort of work. What is it? What is it? Work home balance, or yeah. And that's kind of a strange. It's kind of a strange thing in my mind. I was born to work. I wasn't born to sit around.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that that I don't need to rest or something, or that that I don't need other people, or that I don't, that's not to say any of that, or that family is not important. Of course that's important, but ultimately I'm here to work. So it's a kind of a strange thing to try to balance.
Mm. It is. I agree, because I'm also not super great with balance in a certain way, because if I like something, I just want more of it all the time, like more gigs, more rehearsal, more like I wake up and I listen to music, and then I go and I practice, and then I listen more, and then I want to like read about it, and it's like I just want all the time. So maybe, but I think I sort of just live in that way, in that balance.
So okay, again, I don't need any any more information than you want to tell me. I'm just curious, is your boyfriend a musician?
Yeah, he plays saxophone.
Okay.
Alto and tenor, and we work together sometimes, but not we're not necessarily in each other's bands, and we play together here in the house. Yeah. Nick Hempton. His last name is Hempton with an E, like Hempton.
Yeah, there is some well, I don't know if we would call it research. It's pretty anecdotal.
Yeah.
Just this idea of like, if you're an artist, should you date an artist?
Right.
Or should you date like a normie?
Yeah. I don't know. That. I mean, I think, I don't know the answer, but I know my own answer. I guess everyone has their own answer.
Yeah. And I married an artist, so that worked out. But I also know that sometimes the situation can be that, because you're really driven, everyone's driven, working towards their art, that it can sort of cause you to maybe be apart more than you want to be.
Yeah.
And be challenging.
No, that happens. I mean, in my regular life, like before the pandemic, I go on tour, I'm gone, 7 weeks, 6 weeks. And for me, that flies by, when you're on tour. It doesn't fly by for everybody at home all the time.
Right.
But we just always try to make time at the end of a tour, or if he's on tour, meet up somewhere. And, like I said, I love home life. So, I mean, we eat dinner at home together. We do things together like normal people.
I know you like that use of the word normies.
Yeah, I like that. It's true.
Normies. Okay. So how about some big moments on the stage? You have maybe some turning point moments, or some just, I can't believe I'm on the stage right now with my hero, or I'm sure this is, you probably have a lot of stories, but maybe choose a few.
Well, it's funny. I don't know if anyone's ever really asked me that question in that way, but I can immediately think of one instance that really stands out. Because after it, I was so excited. I feel like I didn't sleep for like 2 days because I was so pumped up. I really love Lou Donaldson. And when I moved, you must love Lou too.
Oh yeah.
When I moved to New York, he was still working a lot. with Lonnie. That was the band with Lonnie Smith on organ, and my drummer. We share drummer Fuku on drums and Randy Johnston. Sometimes Eric Johnson on guitar, and I followed them around a lot. I mean, if they were at Birdland, I would go every night. If they were at the Vanguard, I would go every night. If they played Jazzmobile, I would go. I just showed up everywhere, and I started like trying to talk to Lou. And I'm 17 at this point. I think Lou was just like, this girl is really weird, but I just was like so there all the time, and he came to my gig a couple times and heard me play. And so right after I graduated college, this must have been like 2006 or 2007, I went to see them at the Vanguard, which I always went to see them at the Vanguard. And in the middle of the set, he's like, we're going to have a special guest come up and sing. And he just pointed over at me in the audience at the Vanguard and had me come up. And it was so amazing because I was on stage with Lou Donaldson, but also at the Vanguard.
Yeah.
And it was just like magical. I remember I sang I Thought About You, and maybe Pennies from Heaven, or I think it was Pennies from Heaven. And that was kind of a great moment, even though it was just sitting in, like, just to be up there with Lou and at the Vanguard. And it was really special. I was so wired up.
I can imagine. It's interesting. I told you my dad was a great saxophone player. Mm-hmm. I keep saying that I'm going to, I've got you can't see it from, I don't know. I don't have a camera so you can see over there, but I have like an old cassette rack. It's a bunch of them that are screwed to the wall.
Awesome.
And I've got a bunch of cassettes that my dad made for me. I dubbed a bunch of records and stuff and all like that. And I have one cassette over there in particular, where it's my dad playing. It's on some recording he did, before I was born or something. And he sounds like Lou Donaldson. And he liked Lou a lot. He sounds like Lou. But I keep saying that I'm going to transcribe that and give it to him as a gift. And I haven't done it yet. And I think I've said that maybe 4 or 5 times in this interview series, actually. So I probably should get to it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I'm sure he would love that.
Oh yeah, I know he would. Yeah, it's an incredible advantage having a musician as a parent.
Oh yeah, I think so.
It's like an unfair advantage. It's so unfair because most folks, they don't start dealing with music or listening or anything like that until they're in 5th grade or something.
Or later, high school.
Or late. They might start playing in band in like 5th grade, but yeah, they're probably later. Yeah. So to have that so early.
What's your dad's name?
Say it.
What's your dad's name?
Mickey Wallace.
Mickey Wallace. Are you guys from Ohio?
Yeah, he grew up Columbus. Okay. Yeah, I was born in Columbus, and he was born in Columbus also. So a lot of family in Columbus. Mm-hmm. But my dad's job moved us to Michigan, Lansing area. Mm-hmm. That's like the center of the state. When I was 5. Mm-hmm. Do you have siblings?
No, I'm an only child.
My son is an only child.
Oh, really? I mean, I like it. No, I don't know. When I was younger, I wanted siblings. I asked for siblings. But I didn't get any.
Yeah, my son does a lot of it was pretty aggressive and assertive early on, and then it's gotten less assertive.
How old is he?
He's 7.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 7.
He's yeah, about that time. It's kind of when I got really involved in music and I just forgot. But when you're little, you think a sibling would be super fun to play with all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, when I look at my son, who I consider him to be normal. I was not normal. Right?
Okay.
I consider him to be normal. So he wants to do all the normal 7-year-old boy stuff.
Like baseball.
Yeah, he loves football, sports and all of that.
Fish, and you can fish around there.
Yeah, but a lot of it is, like I have a, tight abdominal muscles at all time when I'm around him, because he's going to punch me.
Okay.
Hard punches too, like, "Hey, daddy!" Like stuff like that. It's a lot of fun, but he is rough and tumble.
Mm-hmm.
He's super silly. He has this crazy sense of humor, and laughing all the time.
That's good.
And I have, I've got instruments and stuff around here, and of course there's a set of drums. It's hidden, but it's like kind of like under the bass guitars on the wall there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's his set of drums, and then there's a P trumpet over there, and he's got a guitar, and I've made him a pedal board and stuff like this, and every once in a while he says, "Hey, Daddy, I want you to give me a lesson." And so he comes downstairs, but really what he wants to do is he just wants to sit in my lap.
Well,
which that's what a kid is supposed to do. That's the normal response. It took me a while to realize that there was something different about the way that I oriented myself to music or to anything at as young as I was. Was that something that took a while for you to figure out that, well, wait a minute, everybody is not really like this?
I think I'm still figuring that out. But I know what you mean. I would go to my like kindergarten class and take show and tell. See, like I took a Miles Davis record once and played like Bye Bye Blackbird from the Prestiges, for the class. And I was so into it, and I thought everyone must be into music, and they aren't, and especially when you're that young. And I mean, like I said, I didn't love to practice a lot when I was like 7 or 8, but I knew you had to do it, and I would do it. And my father, I think, was somewhat reluctant to teach me lessons, because I took piano lessons from his mother, my grandmother, Chris. I took piano lessons from her. She was also reluctant to teach me because she said, I'm going to be your teacher in the lesson, not your grandmother. And she was very serious about me doing my studies. And I think my father felt like he wanted to be the same way, and he was worried that would be unpleasant between, for the parent, like the father-daughter relationship would be sort of like damaged by the teacher relationship. And we would really argue a lot when I was little, because I would just get so mad. He would do this thing, it drove me crazy. He was like a human metronome, because he was always wanting me to get better, get my time better, get my rhythm better. And he would clap, the quarter notes while I was playing, and it would just drive me crazy. And but I loved it sort of now. I love it in retrospect. I didn't love it then, but it's different. I think that I stuck with it, and that I kept doing it. I think a lot of kids are just like, oh, this isn't fun, forget it, I'm going to go do Girl Scouts or whatever, or robot club. There's a lot of other things to do.
Right.
But I don't know why I was different, or why you were different. Maybe you do know why.
Well, I mean, I have I mean, I'm a Christian. I have a certain a sense of providence, like, okay, although I try not to sort of over spiritualize things because I think that most of what happens we're in control of. Well, okay, so I could get philosophical with that point, but I'll talk about myself. I think most of what happens I'm in control of. I can make good decisions and I can make bad decisions. I can use what I've been given. I can not use what I've been given. But if I use what I've been given in a positive way, I think it's going to tend to work out for me, and so music was that thing. It was it's like an amazing thing, right? Because something that you get so much enjoyment from can actually write the ticket. Everything in my life, every relationship I have, everything I own, everything, music paid for. And that's like a pretty incredible kind of thing to be given when I was so young, to be the thing to continue to. So that's not really a description. That's not really an answer to the why. I don't know that I know why, and I might not know why until I die or something, or moments before I die. Oh, now I remember. Yeah, that's pretty dark. But yeah, it's a strange thing. When I was in school, and I think a lot of folks, okay, so you have the popular kids, right? In high school, and the sort of again, this is not research. This is more anecdotal, but it seems like the folks that were really, really super popular in high school, they don't tend to do that well in real life, disproportionately. Now you can find some that did really well. Maybe some of them become politicians because they obviously have that thing worked out. But a lot of them don't end up doing that well because it's like you're peaking too early. Whereas folks like, people that are, locked away in their closet and don't have a lot of, their interpersonal, their communication skills aren't super great. They're kind of awkward and all like this. They usually have time. And as long as you're spending time producing and in improving at something, you always have time to get those other things together. And disproportionately, they're the ones that end up, owning Microsoft, being the CEO of Microsoft and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know, but poetic justice or something. I don't know what to call it, but it seems like that's a pretty common sort of phenomena.
I was, I think in high school, I mean, by high school, I was really obsessed with my music, and we were working a lot. I was working 3-4 days, nights, a week, playing in clubs in Oklahoma while going to high school. And so I think I was I don't know, I wasn't really like popular kid, but I mean, I knew everyone because I'm sort of social. I like to talk to people, and I was in the band, in the marching band, and I did a lot of extracurricular classes and clubs and stuff. But I think everyone thought that I was kind of weird because I was working in these nightclubs, like playing shows and playing music. And I played on the local jazz festival a couple times when I was in high school. And like I was on the cover of like the town paper, and I would show up at 7 a.m. We'd have marching band practice, and I'd be coming from a show that ended at 1:30, and we played often in the jazz club was a cigar lounge. So everything I owned smelled like cigars. So I'm like showing up to like my 7 a.m. marching band practice and opening my trumpet, and it's like wafts of, cigar smoke. And so I think I was odd in school. Pleasantly odd.
Yeah, the popular thing is interesting because, I mean, people knew me. They knew who I was. I started recording when I was 14.
Yeah, same, like me.
Yeah. So and I had before I graduated high school, I had three projects. Well, the first one was a record that kind of gives you an idea of how old I am, and then the next two were CDs. And that was before I graduated high school. So that's kind of a strange thing for someone that's in high school to be doing. So then when I went to college, I had recordings out before I went to college. And so that was also kind of a strange sort of thing. It just seemed normal to me. It didn't seem like it meant anything.
Where did you go? Did you go for music? I'm assuming. Where did you go to school?
Yes. I went to Western Michigan University.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Western, I did my undergrad and my master's degree there, finished the master's degree in 2001. I went straight through. And then in 2004, I moved back to Columbus to take the job at Ohio State, where I'm now the director of jazz studies.
That's cool.
And let's see here. Summer of 2019, I completed a doctorate.
Oh, great.
And thank you. And that's where okay. I have to tell you the Dr. Thunder story.
Okay.
First I'll tell you the Thunder story, then I'll tell you the Dr. Thunder story.
Okay, good.
So the Thunder story it's a nickname that my dad gave me. And those are always the best nicknames. Those nicknames were kind of nicknames that have some kind of strange story that's not really related to what people think the name is about.
Right.
Like I had Lady Jess on. She's a great violinist, tours with Beyonce and stuff. And she was telling her story about how it was one of these she books events and things, right? Or she does contracting, right? And so one of the first things that she contracted, someone gave her like a thank you note or something, and it said, thanks, Lady Jess, right? And that was the first time that was used, and I like that. And so that was the nickname.
Okay.
So those kind of nicknames are always, they stick. So mine is not quite as glamorous as that. Mine was because as a rough and tumble young boy, 2 years old or something, I'm running around in the house, and it's like thump, 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 and thundering. It was thunderous.
That makes sense.
So there you go. And then my older brother's nickname is Lightning.
I wondered.
Yeah, and he played trumpet.
Okay.
He didn't play anymore, but we played together in a band, and we made a storm.
Weather report? No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then what happened was, so Walmart.
I know what you're going to bring up.
Yeah. What
because
am I going to
I
bring up?
so wished I had a can of Dr. Pepper. Because Dr. Thunder. It's a drink, in case people don't know.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
We had a lot of that in my house growing up.
Yeah. So the doctor, Walmart makes a knockoff of Dr. Pepper called Dr. Thunder. And one of my students, as I had finished, sent me, "Hey, look, it's Dr. Thunder." And then I think some kind of way word got to a friend of mine he's actually a collaborator on my book, How to Improvise Over Chord Changes.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got my wife involved, and the person that manages the building that my office is in, and a great saxophone player named Pete Mills, lives in Columbus also. Basically, to unlock my office, and then he went around to like 3 or 4 different Walmarts and bought all of the Dr. Thunder he could get, and then put it in my office all over the place. He told me that the thing that he most regretted was that they didn't have more Dr. Thunder.
That's funny.
He wanted a palette.
Whoa,
He wanted to be able to put a, huh?
It's a very popular drink, so I mean, it makes sense that he can get
Right. No, they couldn't. They apparently. Well, I mean, he went around to like 4 or 5 stores, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and he just bought all of. Yeah, I was like, okay, this. He has a certain kind of sense of humor. That was a lot of. I mean, that was a lot of commitment.
That's a lot of drinks, a lot of cans of soda. I mean, that's a lot of cans of soda.
Yeah. And see, the thing that's kind of funny about it is I don't like Dr. Pepper.
That's terrible. I love Dr. Pepper.
Well, I mean, I'll drink it every once in a while. It's not my preferred drink. I couldn't drink a lot of it.
Like in the Northeast, you can't find it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I guess like to me, like it's like a treat when I go back to Oklahoma, like I can, or if I'm in the Midwest, you know, that you can find it because it's hard to find up here. But I don't really, I mean, I don't drink a lot of soda. Now I feel like I'm saying bad things about Dr. Pepper or Dr. Thunder or something. I don't know.
All right. So we were talking about this practicing thing, and, you know, it's interesting the kind of relationship that musicians have with practicing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a up and down, it's left and right, it's different things. So my question for you is, what do you practice? What are the sorts of things that you're practicing now? Not the kind of things that you practiced along the way, but the things that you were engaged in right now working on.
Well, I like in my routine, I always start just with sort of like technical maintenance on the piano. Anyway, you know, some scales, some ideas through the keys. I like to maintain a semblance of 12 key fluency. I feel like when you're working gigs with a lot of people, you get challenged more. And as a playing solo piano in your own house, I tend to play in the keys I like to play in. So I try to, when I'm practicing, challenge myself by just saying, okay, we're going to play in B, or okay, we're going to play this in A, you know, we being me and myself. And I think this past year, and still currently, because it's a lot of solo piano practice, I've really been working on my left hand, on stride, and just a stronger left hand. I love Errol Garner, so I do that, but more working on the stride and the tempo, the time. Really sort of obsessed with time and with, like, I just want to be, sounds silly. I just want to be super swinging. Like I heard Jay McShann one time in person in my life. I heard him play at a jazz festival in Oklahoma in just before he passed away. So maybe like 2003 or 2004. And it was the most swinging thing I've ever heard in my whole life. And it was just coming from this man at a piano. And I would like to get to that. So I'm always sort of practicing towards that. And then also learning songs, which is a kind of practice in a way.
You know, one thing that is quite different than the sort of European classical tradition is that Black American music, the emphasis on rhythmic feel. So I'm not suggesting that classical music does not have a feel.
Well, it's not.
I am suggesting.
Anyway, it is not sweet. Whatever it is. I like, you know.
But rhythm in the European classical, conception is rhythm is the byproduct of voice leading, right? So as the voices move, this sort of artifacting or the composite rhythms that are created, that's rhythm. And of course all of the money is spent on melody and harmony, so to speak, right? Whereas in Black American music, the feel reigns supreme.
Yeah.
So now I'm not suggesting that melody and harmony are not important. Of course, they're very important. But if it doesn't feel good, doesn't matter if he was playing the right notes. And it's so important. I've used this illustration to describe how important that is. So say, for instance, if I'm I'm cellist, I am the principal cellist in orchestra, I don't know, the orchestra for my university or something, or maybe, and I say, okay, okay, they're playing Brahms, we're doing Brahms symphony. Okay, that's great. All right. And I just get in there and I just decide, you know what, today I'm going to play all of the correct rhythms. So all of the notated rhythms, but I'm just going to play any notes that I want to play. Now, as wrong as that seems, that's how wrong it is to play jazz with the funky feel. No, not that actually could be cool. Funky feel could be cool with a bad feel.
Yeah. I think a lot of that. I was going to say, I think a lot of that these days maybe comes from sometimes, I don't know, I shouldn't say that necessarily, you might not agree, but from so many people learning it from the written page, from notation, as opposed to learning orally, which is how, because you can't really notate the different feelings, like talk about piano players, like Jay McShann's rhythm versus Errol Garner's rhythm versus Junior Mance's or Horace Silver or Sonny Clark. They're so personal, but you could write them all the same and they would look the same, but they're not the same. And sometimes I wonder if all the notation and all the, we have so many great written out resources now for learning jazz, if that doesn't sort of hinder people's idea about their approach to rhythm.
Oh, I think it definitely does. In jazz, the recording is always right.
Yeah.
Consult the recording. Anything that's been transcribed, what's written down is only a sketch of what's on the recording. So if something on the page if there's a wrong note, if there's a rhythm that's incorrect, or if there's not the sort of the three-dimensional rhythmic component, all of the the accenting, this the articulation, the length of notes, if how far something is laying back, all of this stuff that that it would be so cumbersome to notate. And it's one of the reasons why jazz notation tends to be no slurs, none of that, because the implication is that you're going to listen to the recording, and that's where you're going to get all of that content.
Right. It should be like a guide or a reference.
Right.
I think, but that's kind of always my the thing that I want to work on always is rhythm and time and that feeling and I don't know. That's my obsession. I think, because growing up so much around Clark Terry and hearing him, he was so unique rhythmic sense, unique sound, tone, unique articulation, and I want to get closer to that. But on the piano, like I've chose the wrong instrument, but it's okay.
Well, okay, so one thing about rhythmic feel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so feel has a certain implication when you say the word feel. So it's not about an intellectual construct.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the mathematical properties collaborating to create a certain, it's not that. Feel, it's something you can experience, right? It's something that is actually happening, you feel in your body.
Mm-hmm.
The whole African, the whole African thing where music and dance are seen as the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like dance is like music bodily, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
You see all of that, and you find all of that in the music. It's frequent that I find, too frequent that I find students that. Okay, so part of this is a coordination issue.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when you're trying to feel something and you're also trying to subdivide, it can create a strange coordination polyrhythm.
Yeah.
But often is the case that, sometimes I have students and they're playing the right notes, but they're not feeling it the way that those notes sound.
Right. They're not really imitating the full thing that's happening.
Right.
They just imitate sort of like the superficial thing that's happening, the note.
Right. But all of this stuff is it's all important. Yeah. Okay. So how about goals for the future, and maybe even some things away from music that maybe you're developing, growing, personal growth, all of that kind of stuff. Is this sort of time period where you've had more time to kind of, be at home? Has that facilitated some things?
Well, I think it's been, all my answers are going to be about music, but I think it has been good for my left hand. I think I've gotten stronger. I'm happy about that, because, when you're like in my band or when I'm on the road or something, even though I want to develop it, I'm not playing stride piano on the gigs, I'm not using it. And so that has been a good thing. And I would, you talk about goals for the future. I really just want to keep, people always ask that, but the thing is, I really just want to keep playing and getting better. I would like to get better, and keep doing it and work with my band, keep making records, go back on tour. I would like to go back on tour. And I'd like to get a boat.
Okay.
Because my parents just bought a new house in Oklahoma, and I was just there and we went fishing, but they don't have a boat yet. So, we're just fishing like from the dock or, from the side of the lake. And I'd like to get a boat.
All right.
My goals are kind of strange. I don't know. I've been working on my car. I've learned a lot about my car this year. I've been working on my car. That's cool. I like that. I want to keep doing that. I learned to drive during the pandemic. So yeah, I never had a driver's license until a year ago.
That's interesting. But you also in the Northeast, so you can kind of get everywhere you need to. Pretty much. Well,
I moved out here when I was 17, and even I could have gotten a license at 16 in Oklahoma, but I didn't care. And then, but now I'm like, no, I want to be able to drive, and I want to be able to go on tour and be in charge of the driving, or rent a car and go wherever I want.
Right.
So.
Now, I didn't wait until I was, I was 18 when I got my driver's license, but I also didn't feel a rush about it. In Michigan, I could have got it when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter to me because all of the places that I wanted to go, my parents were going to take me, in particular, my dad was going to take me.
Same.
My dad was my manager all the way until I was about 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so, all the clubs and all of the stuff that I was doing, he was always there, and he was driving. So I didn't really have any reason to.
I know. I feel you. Totally. I'm right there. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand that. I think that is maybe a bigger deal to other folks, at least than it was to me. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So talk to me about, tell me something you want to plug. What do you have going on right now? Do you have are you working on a recording project? Are you doing some writing? What's happening?
Well, I'm continuing to broadcast every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and YouTube with my show Live from Lockdown. And we have a lot of guests coming up over the summer, including still some shows by myself and different themes. And I'm focusing on that. And my father and I recorded an album last fall, which is Live from Lockdown, the CD. And we just got the artwork finished and the master finished. And so hopefully that'll be coming out this summer. But not in the meantime, but I did release an album in August, which is this one right here behind me. And it's called Bird Song and celebrates the music of Charlie Parker. And I'm still very much wanting to, I feel like I missed out. Like 2020 was Bird's centennial. And because I wasn't able to really tour, I missed out on spreading the word of Bird. So I'm going to keep doing that this year as well.
Yeah. Well, that's all great stuff, and I'm going to continue to be tuning in for your shows. I enjoy that quite a bit. And like I said, you're very knowledgeable, all kind of stuff about the music that you're playing. And I think that even if you weren't playing, that in itself, I think would be valuable. So I appreciate that. And why don't we get a final word? Maybe you could say something encouraging to someone that's a young musician that is still trying to figure it out, that maybe they've had some discouragement, some things have happened or whatever that have kind of slowed things down for them. Maybe you have something encouraging you can say.
Well, I think that being a musician, being a jazz musician, being a musician is such a special calling. And I really think it's a calling. And, you're there to bring happiness and love and joy to other people and, sort of caring for your fellow man, and the music cares for you in return. And I think that even though we all suffer disappointments and setbacks, that the important thing is really just to remain dedicated, keep practicing, keep working on your music and seeking the opportunity to perform and having a positive outlook and a smile on your face, and everything will work out. That's what I think.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much, Champion. This is I've definitely enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed it also.
I did, Sean. It was nice to meet you like this, face to face.
That's right. Well, hopefully sometime we'll play together.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Like for real,
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So, stick around. Don't go anywhere. But I will see you later.
Okay. Bye.
All right.